Can you reach the next level of teaching? We challenge secondary maths teacher Simon Brilliant to go from good to outstanding. A top inspector observes one lesson. 2 experts fine-tune his practice and beef up his presentation. He then gets 2 weeks to take on the advice before the inspector comes back for the final verdict.
And this has actually been a far greater challenge than I thought it was going to be. I thought it would just be a doddle. I've always had at the back of my mind the idea that one day I would become a teacher. Even spending 10 years in IT, it was always sort of, this is something I really enjoy doing.
Simon Brilliant is in his 2nd year as a maths teacher at Hornsey School for Girls in North London.
How would I use this sample space diagram to work out the probability of getting an ace?
Is it 3 out of 12?
Yes, absolutely. To see young people getting a new concept and understanding it and actually seeing them learn is really, really quite enjoyable. 3 out of 12. What does that reduce down to, though?
A quarter.
The school rates his teaching as good, but head of maths James Crowther thinks there's room for improvement.
Simon's got the capacity to be an outstanding teacher. His strengths are about his love for the subject and he wants students to do well. What he does need to do is to vary his approach sometimes.
What's the probability of getting a picture card and a green counter?
Some of the work can be quite boring and then you're thinking, well, I can't really be bothered to do this, so you just rush it and get most questions wrong.
So once again, it's 3 possibilities out of 12. My weakness is my lessons are pretty boring. Same old, week in, week out. So that's something I'd really like to improve. Quick, run! It's very difficult to get a work-life balance that balances what I feel I should be doing to be fair to my students and what I want to do at home to be fair to my family. Go on, fella.
With 2 days to go before his first observation, Simon discusses how much extra planning he should be doing for his Year 8 class on Friday afternoon.
Why would I want to plan a lesson for Friday afternoon when I know they're going to be tired, they're going to be fractious, it may well be hard?
You plan a lesson appropriate to the students at that time. It would be the fact that, well, it's Friday afternoon, it's period 5, X, Y and Z could go wrong. You're telling me that doesn't make you feel nervous?
Loads of things are going to go wrong. I mean, they're going to be bouncing, they're going to be absolutely bouncing for the first 10 minutes.
If you can foresee all these problems, that's why it's more important to plan for them and to make sure that, you know, you can cover these areas effectively.
And it might not be that there's a full written out Ofsted style lesson plan every single lesson, but nerves are going to be there and you might need some aid memoir. I would think it would be prudent to write a bit more than you would do on a normal day. What I'm hoping for Simon through this experience is that at the end of 2 years of teaching, he'll be challenged again. And Simon's the sort of character that he needs those challenges just to inspire him and to motivate him.
Simon runs through his planning for tomorrow's lesson on patterns and sequences. The plan is to use existing worksheets, but there's a problem.
They don't have enough information on them on their own to be obvious how you're supposed to answer the questions. And the way I want to teach it doesn't tie in very directly with the questions that are on the worksheet. So contrary to what I was saying yesterday, I'm actually now quite concerned that when the HMI comes in, I'm not going to be as prepared for the lesson as I should be.
With hundreds of inspections under her belt, School Inspector Claire Gillies certainly knows an outstanding lesson when she sees one.
I'm now at Hornsey School for Girls and I'm really looking forward to seeing Simon teaching Year 8 maths.
Simon's got just 60 minutes to impress the inspector.
Right, girls, can you get yourself a mini whiteboard and write the next 2 numbers in these 3 sequences? Right, we've done that. Hold them up. Now, yes, do it so I can see it. Sheila, yeah. OK, excellent. Now that was easy, yeah? How about, though, when we do something like this? I want you to draw, wipe your boards clean, I want you to draw the next 2 sequences in this sequence.
The key things that you are looking for when you observe a lesson are the children learning? Are the children absorbed? Are they all keen to do their best? Are they all listening to what the teacher is talking about? Do you get the feeling they want to join in?
And we can actually see that the results of that are here. This is the term-to-term rule. What we're going to work out today is now the position-to-term rule. I've simply written the same thing. It's a mapping diagram, but I've now written it across the board.
Because he uses the whiteboard and the interactive board a lot, instead of just him teaching, he could call us up more to get more involved in the lesson, and the people that are like daydreaming in the lesson, he could call them up to help on the board and stuff.
The squares and pentagons, you've all been given things like this with mappings on, which is the first thing we looked at. I don't want you to draw mapping diagrams. I want you to draw position-to-term diagrams. I want you to draw tables like this to work out the general rule for each of these mappings. So do not draw the mapping like they've got here. Imagine it's turned sideways. So draw it like this, not like this. Is that clear what you need to do?
What have we got? What's going to be the bottom line? Perhaps we should think about that, shouldn't we? What's the sort of equivalent to the term on here? Yep, brilliant. Unlikely you'd be buying towers for 12 cars, I must admit, but even so.
Yeah, you need to work out the general rule. But what you could do, which is what I want you to do, is draw a table like this for each of these, yeah, in your book.
How did you do that, Steve? I didn't get it. The third one with the triangles.
We use sheets every lesson, and sometimes they're confusing, but he does help us a lot if we don't understand it.
I think we've pretty much done for today. We've done working from term to term, what to add on each time, and we've worked from position to term. No.
Oh my gosh.
Why do it? I'll start with one, so... Oh, they stay sat there. Right.
What I liked best about the class was probably when we started playing a game, because then we finished the work and it's like an easy way to end the lesson.
Buzz.
So, how did Simon do?
Thank you very much for letting me share that lesson. Tell me how you think it went sort of as a whole, as the sequence. Did they get the message?
The fact that they actually did concentrate on the work and understand it, and maybe I simplified it a bit too much, but they got it in a way that I was really quite pleased about.
If I look for the sort of strengths of the lesson, it was a relaxed manner. You know, clearly they were sort of getting on with it, so you've obviously established that sort of rapport with them. But in terms of how much maths did they actually really learn and master, I don't think it was a lot. When you did your little starter, you were using colours, weren't you, when you were adding on? And I thought it was tough they didn't have the colours to sort of make it easier for them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, or even if they had little sticks themselves.
Well, I think you've probably hit the nail on the head, that perhaps we needed to be a bit more practical in several elements of the lesson. The diagram number 1, 2, 3, 4, I was thinking, did they have a clue why we were doing this in terms of actually its application in real life? I mean, one girl said to me, how many spare tires do you have in a car? I thought it was really interesting, you know, before she could do number 1.
Yeah.
Just thought we needed a little touch of help with the realism. And that just might give them that little sparkle that perhaps was missing in the whole lesson, that we didn't really swing along. And perhaps as well, more chit-chat, more turn to your neighbour, turn to this.
Yes.
Get them to help bring them together. And I think we needed to break up that long work session. It was quite a long time, some of them struggling. We could have just all come together again and compared where we got to and who was in a muddle and who wasn't. It would have broken it up for us.
Yes.
We actually did have a few minutes to kill, didn't we, when we did Father's Biz. There was more sort of smiles and sense of enjoyment during that little session. And maybe we need to generate that at the beginning of lessons.
Yes,
You know, bit of fun, bit of, I know it's a hot Friday after, oh, we're going to do these sequences. And I just felt we needed that a little bit more.
I think I've got very lackadaisical with my planning, that I've gone, yes, I know what I'm doing and I can present information in a generally acceptable manner. But to actually do it in a way that engages the students, which makes it an outstanding lesson, which means that they enjoy it, really it's good to get that little kick and go, no, you really must do something better.
Claire Gillies highlighted Simon's need to actively engage his students and to make the context of the mathematics more transparent. Time to bring in the experts. To give Simon some fresh ideas, help comes in the form of Principal Lecturer in Mathematics Alison Clark-Wilson.
I think someone over here hadn't quite got it right.
They start by watching Simon's lesson.
What I'd like to do is have a look at how to encourage a little bit more people involvement and thinking. The range of resources are really quite extensive. These are very stimulating, and I think one of the first things that I would use with most age pupils is to look at these pictures and ask them what they see, to describe what they see. And sometimes when you get pupils to focus on that, the algebra actually falls off the page. So for example, this particular pattern, the fact that there's one red circle in the centre may well have something to do with this one that hangs around in this particular bit of the sequence. So if we took the 3 times table, which was where you were starting at, one possible route with this one would be to have some sort of physical representation of it, more than just the numbers, because the numbers can be a turn-off for some pupils. If we were to do something with this sequence ourselves and generate a new set of numbers, so I'm going to do something here. And what I'm going to ask you to do is actually physically with those blocks, build up that pattern in some way that for you represents this new sequence.
Right.
Can you?
We'll put 2 of these on each.
Having that image there, or those physical objects, do we think that would be a supporting step for the pupils?
Because I mean, we can see that we've now added 2 blocks on each of them. You don't think perhaps that they might find this a little bit childish?
Mm-hmm. It's an interesting, I mean, a lot of teachers pose that question, and I think my response would be, try it. You know, you've got to give the rationale. It's unlikely a science teacher will take the science equipment away because they can't learn science without it. Well, some of us would argue that we need these resources to learn maths, that they actually support that conceptual development. Okay, what we've got here, Simon, is a set of the sort of mathematical processes, the doing words. And what I'd like you to do to start with is pick out, say, 2 or 3 that you think will, you saw going on in that lesson.
Okay, well that's a really obvious one.
So looking for patterns.
Yeah, definitely doing that.
Yes.
But hopefully understanding basic concepts. I was going to say showing interest and motivation, but I'm not sure if they did show an interest and motivation. I've got a feeling that perhaps they might have showed interest, but I'm not sure the motivation was being there.
I mean, other sources of sort of inspiration, if you like, where pupils might actually see it in the outside world, is very much to do with nature. And it isn't necessarily going to say, look, this is how you're going to use this, but actually gives some bearing to sort of the way in which maths is already out there. And by putting on your mathematical glasses, you're able to help pupils to see it more clearly. What is it that you enjoy about maths?
I just enjoy the sort of logic part of it, that there is a right answer in some cases.
Do you think that possibly presents an issue to students if they sense that it is this game of finding the right answer? Do we need to focus more on promoting the children's thinking? Because although there may be a right answer, there may be many routes to that right answer.